Hey there, I'm the Mad Catster, and am I glad to see you here. It looks like the Ace family has finally left the building and vacated their old mega mansion and moved on to a new house. However, I've noticed that there have been a lot of conflicting theories and opinions about what the full story actually was. So for the past week, I've been digging, and pulling together every single receipt that I could find, and I believe I've put together the full picture of exactly what happened with the Ace family's scam sham house. And I'm going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth right now. So let's get into it. I watched a ton of Ace family videos over the last several days, and let me tell you, I had to take a shower after to get the artificial sweetener off my skin. They've moved out now, and they couldn't help themselves but to apparently and allegedly break the law because they made their goodbye video, the last one they said that they were making from their house, and they said that, and they showed that they had moved out of the house. So mind you, the house has been foreclosed and reverted to the lender. The lender owns the house. They are not tenants. They are not owners. So after they vacated and took all their possessions and moved out, by coming back, they've actually trespassed. And they've actually broken the law by going into that property again to film that video. Even though they were living there, they didn't have any legal right to be there anymore. So that's just, you know, the little cherry on top of the Ace family shit Sunday. It looks like though now they've left the building for good. The Ace family dumpster fire is out temporarily, but just in case it should flare up again, I've got my fire extinguisher and hopefully I won't need to use it. But let's get into this. Like I said, I've pulled together a ton of receipts. So everything I'm going to tell you, I'm going to back up with a document and make it clear, and I'm going to take you through it step by step so that you can see for yourself and put together for yourself and form your own opinion about exactly what's happened here. Oh, by the way, we have gone over 1,000 subscribers. I'm just so excited. I'm so grateful for your support, and I hope we keep building momentum. I hope you stay with me. But anyway, so let's get into it. So I'm going to pull up a document. You can't see her, but Clarice, who you've met before, is sitting right smack in the middle of my desk, blocking my view of my screen. Clarice, can you move? And I need to put this document up so I can look at it. There we go. Forgive me, I'll put this timeline that I created because there's just so much stuff. I wanted to put it all in order and make it clear and concise. So you're gonna hear me mention a few different companies, and what you need to keep in mind is the one common denominator among all these companies are names Tami Kochlani and Avi Kochlani. And they worked together, and they worked with the McBrooms in creating this house. So originally, when this all got started, there had been building permits issued to a prior owner of the property. This property's changed hands a few times, and I'm not going to go over all of that. But to build the original two houses that were under construction, there was building permits issued to a different owner and a different contractor. This is Edith, by the way. This is little Edith. On November 30th, 2015, a company is formed called M Development LLC, and I believe Catherine mentions this in some of her videos. And it was formed by Avi Kochlani and Tami Kochlani, who I think is his wife, but I'm not positive. So the Kochlanis form this M Development LLC, and they list the business with the Secretary of State of California as a construction, development, and remodeling, which makes sense because if they're going to buy this property, which you'll see in a minute they do, they need to have some kind of construction business. So on August 24th, 2016, the following year, M Development LLC buys the property that the McBrooms will eventually inhabit, and they buy it from a company called JHA 26 Bell Canyon LLC, which was the owner and developer at the time that the two houses were going up. Then, on June 13th, 2018, a new company is formed called TMK Development LLC, and that's formed by Tami Kochlani, and she lists herself as the CEO, and the type of business is listed as real estate. Now, Catherine, in her video ranting about the house, said that the realtors screwed them. You know, everybody screwed them. Screwed. They got screwed by everybody. You know, nothing, but the poor victims.
There was the realtor who orchestrated the entire deal, who screwed us.
But, and then, you know, like I said before, she says, we're not going to be the victims, and I think Austin says it too, and then they proceed to be the victim. But I believe that could be the realtor that she's talking about, and that's probably why this TMK Development was formed, this real estate company, was to act as real estate agent in this whole process, okay? So here we've got Tami Kochlani again. So far, as you see, and you're going to keep seeing, all of these companies I named, the Kochlanis are part of. Okay. Then, sometime before July 30th, 2018, Ace Hat Collection, which is the Ace family's company. It's like their company that does like all their merchandise and that they use like for all their Ace family business stuff. So Ace Hat Collection, which a lot of you probably remember, was the owner of the house legally. It wasn't in the name of the McBrooms, it was in the name of Ace Hat Collection. So Ace Hat Collection gets added as a member or partner of M Development LLC, which Avi Kochlani and Tami Kochlani are also members. And then Austin and Catherine McBroom become officers of M Development LLC. So this is now a cozy little bunch of 4, and they are the people who are going to develop the McBrooms property. So on July 30th of 2018, after Ace Hat and the McBrooms get involved with M Development, a loan for $3,530,000 is made from 5 Arch Funding, which also will make the bigger loan that got foreclosed, and you'll see that coming up. So 5 Arch Funding lends this money to M Development, with Kochlani and McBrooms listed as principals of M Development, and they take that presumed for construction to make the 2 houses into one. Then on September 4th, 2018, the original building permit, which was taken out by a different owner listing a different contractor when the houses were all going to be built separately, that now gets revised on September 4th, 2018 to permit them to turn the 2 houses into one giant mansion. Okay, so now they have a construction loan and they've got the permit from the city to make the 2 houses into one. Now, this is where things get a little more complicated. So then Tami Kochlani then forms another company. And this company she forms on January 31st, 2019. So just a few months after the building permit is approved for the single family house. And she creates a company called TNL Renovation Inc. And she lists herself as a principal. And the business is construction development because presumably TNL is now going to be the contractor of the property, which formerly, as Catherine mentioned in her video, was TNL Construction. TNL Renovation and TNL Construction are 2 separate companies. However, the Kochlanis have involvement with TNL Construction as well, because I saw in some court filings where they're linked to TNL Construction, and you know TNL appears in both companies. So I believe there's a family connection with them and TNL Construction, in addition to them working with TNL Construction, based on what I've seen in the documents. Now, another reason I know that TNL Renovation and TNL Construction are connected is if you look at these 2 images I'm putting up, the first one is a contracting license and it's for TNL Renovation, and it lists a man named Meyer Levy, who is also one of the principals of TNL Construction. And the next license you'll see for TNL Renovation is Tami Kochlani. So clearly they are related in some way. So I want to make one thing clear. Tami and Avi Kochlani, they were working with TNL Construction, which was developer of the house prior to when M Development bought it, was a licensed contractor. And here's a copy of their license. And Avi and Tami were working with them, and I believe that they also had involvement with the company based on what I've seen. So I don't know what Catherine's talking about when she says that he wasn't a licensed contractor, and that's going to become even more muddy in just a second. So as I said, on January 31st, 2019, Tami Kochlani forms TNL Renovation, and TNL Renovation is a licensed contractor, and here's their license. So we've got contracting licenses for the companies that are going to be doing the work on this house. Okay, so I don't know what she's going on and on about.
The contractor, he was not a licensed contractor and he was using someone else's contracting license, and we were unaware of it for 2 years, okay? So he lied to us.
Not only are these people her business partners in M Development and currently the co-owners of her house, but they are also doing the contracting work in conjunction with M Development being the developer. So it's all in the same pool. It's not like these are all separate people, and she made it sound like there's all these different people involved. Well, bullshit. There's only 4 of them. There's Avi Kochlani, Tami Kochlani, Austin McBroom, and Catherine McBroom. Those are the only 4 individuals involved in this whole mess. Okay? So Tami Kochlani forms TNL Renovation to be a construction development business. So clearly it looks like TNL Renovation is now going to do the contracting work with M Development as the owner and developer, TMK Development as the real estate company, and TNL Renovation as the contractor. Okay, so we have in their license, I just showed you the 2 licenses. Then on April 17th, 2019, just a few months later, M Development LLC finally files what's called a Statement of Information. A Statement of Information is basically an annual report for a company. In California, regular corporations file every year, and LLCs like M Development, they file every 2 years. M Development finally files because they hadn't filed one. That's why when I said I believe that the McBrooms got involved with M Development before July 2018 is because they would have had to have been added as officers and Ace Hat as a member in order for them to take that loan that they got from Five Arch Funding. This is where it's really interesting. Now on April 17, 2019, M Development LLC files a new Statement of Information. This lists Ace Hat Collection as the only member of the company. So in other words, the Kochlanis are no longer listed as members. So basically, Ace Hat Collection and the McBrooms take over M Development LLC and become the sole owners, presumably, of this property, which they later, as you'll see, basically deed to themselves. Whereas before, M Development was a construction development and remodeling company. On this new Statement of Information, Ace Hat Collection changes the type of business to entertainment. So clearly, the McBrooms are planning to use Cedric is back for more. See, I told you, they all like to come visit, but I need to focus. I guess not. But anyway, so Ace Hat Collection now takes over M Development LLC. They change the business to entertainment. They now own the property that is going to become their future home. I do want you to know that M Development LLC is no longer an active company. I checked that out. So I believe this was solely for the purpose of giving them a shady way to transfer the property into the name of Ace Hat Collection only, and they in fact do that, and I'll show you, and there's a couple of reasons why, and I'll explain that to you as well. So now in April 2019, M Development LLC, the owner of the McBrooms future home, is now in sole control of Ace Hat Collection and Catherine and Austin McBroom. And in fact, you can see on the Statement of Information that Catherine McBroom signs the Statement of Information, and she lists herself as the secretary of the company. So it gets even worse. On April 25th, just a week later, M Development, now in control of the McBrooms, M Development takes a loan for $1,659,245 from a private lender. We don't know what it's for. Could be that it was an additional construction loan. It could be potentially, allegedly, some kind of compensation to the Kochlanis for taking over M Development. We don't know. Then just a few months later, on July 16, 2019, M Development LLC generates and executes a quitclaim deed for the property from M Development, which is also in control of Ace Hat Collection, to Ace Hat Collection. And if you look on the deed, it says that the property being deeded is purportedly a, and I quote, bona fide gift, with the seller getting nothing in return. So in other words, the quitclaim deed is saying that M Development has given this property to Ace Hat Collection for nothing. Very generous, isn't it? I wish I had friends like that. So that's suspect. And one consequence of that is that they don't have to pay any transfer tax. The weird thing is the deed was signed by Tami Kochlani, who, although no longer listed as a member or partner of M Development, lists herself as manager, which is sort of like an employee or an officer. So she's not an owner, but she's still associated with the business. If that's true, I don't know. But because they made it a gift, they avoided paying any transfer tax on it. So that just adds to the corrupt nature of this whole thing. So basically, free house to Ace Hat Collection, allegedly. No tax. Now the property is in the name of Ace Hat Collection. Also on July 16th, in addition to the quitclaim deed being executed, a loan on the property is issued for $1 million is made from M Development LLC to Ace Hat Collection. So they're basically loaning themselves $1 million from M Development. And they list on the documents that this is considered a junior lien. And what that means is this $1 million, any first mortgage on the property will take precedence over any junior lien. And the reason why that's significant is because what we saw happen when the property was foreclosed, it was the primary lender who foreclosed. Their lien takes priority. Therefore, when they foreclosed, they wiped out any junior lien. That $1 million note to M Development from Ace Hat, gone when the foreclosure happened. So then, A few days later, on July 19th, 2019, now that Ace Hat Collection owns the property, they get a loan that's eventually foreclosed, which is for $8,850,000, and that's also from Five Arch Funding, who also had that smaller loan. The loan from Five Arch Funding is secured by, obviously, a lien on the property as collateral, but instead of recording what we call a mortgage for like residential property, this is actually a commercial transaction. It's a deed of trust that's recorded, giving the ownership interest, the beneficial interest to Five Arch Funding, so that if something happens, they can foreclose on the property. Now, in the deed of trust, which I'm going to put up here for you and show you, you'll see that there's a paragraph which says that they cannot reside in the property, that no member or officer of the company who owns the property, Ace Hat Collection, can use the property as a residence. So that's where some people have talked about mortgage fraud, and Fleur had mentioned that this document, because they have that restriction in there, they weren't supposed to be living there. Not only are they not supposed to be living there because there's no certificate of occupancy, which we've already talked about in the last video, they're not supposed to live there because it's a violation of the terms of their mortgage. So even before they defaulted, once the McBrooms were living there, Five Arch Funding could have foreclosed anyways, even if the loan was current, because they violated the terms of the mortgage. Also, there's a provision, and you'll see further here, there's another page where there's a paragraph that says that if they lie about their intention of how they're going to use the property during the granting of the loan, that's also grounds for the lender to foreclose on the property. So not only did the McBrooms lie about saying that they were going to use the property allegedly for filming, I believe is what some people have said they said, and then they used it for a house. So they violated the terms of their mortgage by living in it. They violated the terms of their mortgage because they lied to the lender about what the property was going to be used for when they took out the loan. And then they defaulted on the loan and got foreclosed anyway. So this whole thing was just a scam from the beginning. So anyways, Five Arch Funding makes this loan for $8,850,000. So that same day that the loan is made and that the deed of trust is recorded against the property to secure the loan, Five Arch Funding assigns their beneficial interest, which means their interest in the loan and in the property, to another company. And this is not uncommon. A lot of you who have bought houses may notice that as soon as you buy your house, the lender who made the loan transfers your mortgage to another company. That's basically what this is. So Five Arch Funding assigns their beneficial interest in the deed of trust to a company called Redwood BPL Holdings. And that's actually, even though Five Arch Funding was talked about a lot, Redwood BPL Holdings is actually now the owner of the mortgage, or the holder of the mortgage. So when the McBrooms defaulted, it was Redwood BPL Holdings that was the holder of the note at that time. It was no longer Five Arch Funding. So then in October of 2019, so a few months later, on October 7th, what's really interesting to me is something gets filed, which I'm familiar with in dealing with commercial transactions and secured interests in my prior practice. It's called a UCC statement, which is filed. So I'm going to put up here this brief explanation just so you understand this. So a UCC financing statement is a legal form that allows a lender to announce a lien on an asset to secure a loan. In this case, the lender is letting people know that they have a security interest in a certain bit of property. So in this instance, Five Arch Funding is letting other people know that they have got a secured interest, it's Ace Hat Collection, in order to be collateral for a loan. Now, I'm not sure, because it doesn't specifically say, and we don't have the note, which is the actual paper that makes the obligation. We don't have the actual note. So I don't know, because this comes after they've transferred their beneficial interest in the big $8 million loan, I'm not sure what this is security against. It could be one of those smaller loans that we don't really know where they came from. It could be for that $3 million loan, although I am going to theorize and surmise, because I know that $3 million loan was paid off, that $8 million, part of that went to pay off the balance of that construction loan. It isn't clear why Five Arch Funding is filing this UCC financing statement, and it's against Ace Hat Collection. You can see here on the form, basically they're saying that everything, including the company and its assets, of Ace Hat Collection is security for some loan obligation, and we don't know which one because we don't have the note, so we don't know what this was securing. And when I looked this up, this UCC statement, it's still there. It's still listed as being an active UCC lien. So the interesting question is, do the Ace family still owe Five Arch Funding money? And if so, is Five Arch Funding now going to take over Ace Hat Collection's assets and all the merchandise and everything? Because of the foreclosure and now their apparent lack of funds, are they now in default on another loan to Five Arch Funding that is now going to enable Five Arch Funding to now come in and take control of Ace Hat Collection and all of its assets? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. So that was October 2019. So now let's go forward. The McBrooms move in to their shitty house. On May 5th, 2021, this year, just about the time that they were defaulting, the trustee on the deed of trust for the loan was changed from Provident Title to a company called CATD Specialists. And that's actually the trustee who recorded the notice of the foreclosure sale. That's called a trustee's notice of sale. CATD Specialist, acting on behalf of the lender, is the one who took care of arranging the foreclosure and the auction. Then, that was May 5th, 2021. On May 21st, 2021, a notice of default was filed and served on Ace Hat Collection, which, because they were now in default, accelerated the loan, which means the lender says, and this is all terms that are in the loan, says, you've defaulted, we want you now to pay the whole loan. So they accelerated the loan, and at that time it had a balance of $8,722,944.29. Now, if you remember, the original loan was for $8,850,000. So some people had speculated that this was an interest-only loan. I don't think that's correct, because if the loan value has gone down in spite of the fact that they've defaulted and there's been interest accumulating that they're not paying, the loan is still less than what it was originally. So they must have been paying some principal towards this loan. So I don't think it was an interest-only loan. Then, on August 30th, 2021, the notice of foreclosure sale is filed and served, and the sale date is listed as September 28th, 2021. And as most of you know, the sale got postponed twice and did eventually happen. Now, in the interim, before the sale takes place and while it's getting postponed, on October 19th, 2021, the loan is again transferred. So the beneficiary, the lender, now goes from Redwood BPL Holdings, who had taken assignment of this loan from Five Arch Funding. They now assign the loan to CAF REO 2 LLC. So they basically, this company probably does this all the time. They probably buy houses going into foreclosure, and the investor who is the holder of the loan doesn't want to, deal with the whole process, and usually they'll sell the interest in the property, sometimes for less than what it's worth, just so that they can get cash out of it and let the new owner deal with the problems of the foreclosure and any evictions and sale and that sort of thing. So this CAF REO 2 LLC now becomes the lender. Then on November 5th, CATD Specialist, the trustee, puts the house up for auction. Nobody bids on it, as we know. And so the house reverts to the lender, which is now CAF REO 2 LLC. And now it's theirs to sell to somebody else, and there's been rumors going around that it was sold. I've yet to see anything get recorded, or it may have been recorded and just not showing up yet, in terms of a new owner recording a new deed or mortgage or anything of that sort. So right now we don't know who the actual owner is because we don't have any documented evidence. I know there's been speculation, and I'm not going to get into speculation. Then in December 2021, the McBrooms, probably not wanting to face the embarrassment of a court proceeding to evict them and a sheriff or a constable coming to move them physically out of their house, wisely decides that they're going to find a new place to live. Now, they've been giddily talking about this new house that they've moved into. I speculate that this house is a rental, because the house before they bought, they didn't really ever buy their house. Before they moved into this mansion, they were renting a house. So the house that they were renting before, and that landlord sued them for, I think it was like $65,000 in back rent. They were renting before, then they moved into this house, then they get kicked out, they're moving to a new house. I'm pretty sure it's a rental and they haven't actually bought. So they vacate the house, they sell their furniture online, have like this virtual yard sale, and then illegally they go back to the house and film one more goodbye video after they vacated the premises. And like I said, they weren't tenants and they had no ownership interest in the property anymore. So they basically trespassed after they left to go back and make a final video. I'm sure that the owner of the property never going to pursue that, because I'm sure they're thrilled as hell that the McBrooms vacated the property without them having to take them to court. So now they can go ahead and sell it free and clear without the new buyer having to worry about evicting someone. Because a lot of times what happens is a bank will foreclose on a property, and if it's occupied, whether they're tenants or the former owners, they will create a real headache because you've got to take them to court. A lot of times it gets dragged out, it can go on forever, meanwhile you're losing money. And so buyers don't like to buy properties where there are holdover tenants. So I'm sure whoever the new buyer is going to be, or is, if it's already happened, is going to be thrilled that the McBrooms left on their own. And now the saga will go forward, and we'll wait and see what wonderful things and news comes from the Ace family going forward. But as you can see, and I hope I haven't bored you to death with all of these documents and things, but as you can see, the whole process was pretty shady from the beginning. At no time do I see that there was an entity involved with the property that wasn't licensed. So all of that nonsense about we got screwed by this person and that person, it's all bullshit, because the McBrooms were part of the whole process, and they were part of the entities involved in the process. So all of this boo-hoo-hooing is complete bullshit. And I hope you see that. You can make up your own mind just from reviewing what I've showed you. But they never bought their house. It was transferred from one entity that Ace Hat controlled to Ace Hat. No typical sale happened. And even though they got a loan to, I don't know whether part of that $8 million loan went to I'm sure it must have gone to the Kochlanis in compensation for the property for what they paid, and I'm sure they made profit on it. But the McBrooms never owned that house. It went from one company to another company. They moved in against the terms of the mortgage without a certificate of occupancy, which I showed you in the last video. All of this talk about we couldn't get it because all of this stuff was wrong. Well, that's not true. Most everything had been signed off by the city. There was just a thing with the HVAC inspection that needed to be done, and then there was the description and the map of the property that needed to be redone and recorded. So they went through and showed all of these defects allegedly in their second to last video. But I watched so many McBroom videos over the last several days. I saw nothing when they moved in that looked like it was wrong. And oh, by the way, that solid mahogany door, I saw one scene when they were finishing up the house where the door isn't stained, and you can clearly see it's all laminate and veneer. So I'm not going to get it. They're full of shit. They're not credible people. And and also there were some videos where there was one video, a long video, where they were playing hide and seek in the house after they moved in, and they're like entourage and family members are like cramming themselves into things, moving bathtubs, scraping them across the floor because I don't know whether they weren't secured. I saw one guy climbing up on top of bookcases, and and then they go around and say, oh, this piece of wood is loose. See how crappy this house is? And it's like, really? In the 2 years, if that's what you were doing on video, I can't imagine the wear and tear that house took in the time they were in it when we weren't watching them on camera. So I'm pretty sure all of that shit, other than some of the little settling that you saw, which is normal with a new house, when you see, the gaps appear sometimes because it settles. It's a new foundation, new house. It always happens. That's not because of poor construction. That's just nature. But all of those other itty bitty little things that they were pissing and moaning about, they looked fine in all the videos I watched, and I'm pretty sure that this is stuff that just happened because they were rough on the house. Oh, and by the way, there was an interesting video. Remember, she talked about how cold they were in the cold baths. Well, I saw in one video at least 2 water heaters outside. They were like, I don't know why they're installed outside, but they clearly had hot water, and they even talk about showering in 1 or 2 of the videos. And also, there's a video where they're giving a house tour, and they will go by a thermostat. And the thermostat says 90 degrees. And Catherine looks at it and she comes back down the stairs and goes, who set this to 90 degrees? No wonder it's so hot in here. Okay, so clearly there's a working thermostat.
Why is this set at 90 degrees? No wonder it's so
And she also pointed out in the tour video, their big, I don't know whether it's, I think it could be electric. I don't think it's gas. I think it's electric fireplace. And she was talking about how great a heat source it was.
Wait, I gotta show them the fireplace. Whenever you want to set the mood, Ace family, whenever we have guests over.
And it actually gets warm, so in the wintertime you can turn it on and it's actually a functioning fireplace.
So, anyways, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm tired of talking about them. They're just, this whole house thing was just one big scam, and they can cry and moan and protest their innocence all they want and say how they pay their bills. Oh, one last thing. So, not only did they default on their mortgage, but the McBrooms also left behind quite a hefty unpaid tax bill on the property, which the new buyer is going to have to pay off. Because what happens, and I'm not positive in California whether this is the case, but in most states, if you owe the taxes to the city and the city then puts a lien on your house for the taxes, oftentimes that becomes what's known as a super lien, which means if the city forecloses on the house, like where I live, if the city forecloses on the house, it doesn't matter who holds the mortgage. The municipality trumps everybody. And even if you owed them, say, $10,000 in taxes and the house is worth $1 million and they foreclose it, none of that money from the sale is going to go to the actual lender. If you look at this on the screen from the LA Assessor's Office, you'll see for 2020, they owe $59,869.67. Now, if you go down below that, you'll see it says defaulted tax roll. Well, for the year 2020, they owe $285,341.61 with a monthly penalty amount. That's the amount of extra interest being added or penalty being added to that $285,000 bill every single month, and that's $3,479.84. The reason why it says redemption amount for $285,341 is because whoever buys it, the city has a lien against the property, and in order to get that lien taken off, they have to pay the full tax bill. So it doesn't matter that they didn't own the house. The fact that there's a lien on the house means it's got to be paid, or the city's going to eventually come knocking looking for their money, and they're going to want to force the sale of the house. So that's just one final kick in the ass from the McBrooms, and hopefully this is the end of our discussion of the McBrooms Ace House. I'm sure it's not the end of our discussion of the McBrooms. It's just that the McBroom shitnado has been downgraded to a tropical storm, and we'll have to see what happens from this point out. Anyways, I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for your support. Everybody has just been so kind. I was really very pleased and surprised that clips of me have been featured on 4 different YouTubers' channels, which I have no problem with them using my clips, of course, as long as, at least show my name. But there's a newer station called Fleur, and they posted a fairly decent sized clip of me talking about Catherine McBroom and the foreclosure, and subsequently Ethan Klein's H3 podcast picked that up and they played it, and that episode's gotten well over 1 million views, so that really made me happy. And I think I had already told you a couple of weeks ago, Sloan had shown a clip of me on his, and then just a couple days ago, another decent sized YouTube channel had a couple clips of me in the opening segment of their latest video in the McBroom disaster. My cats are sleeping. Most of the time they sleep. You would not know I had 16 cats, because if you came into my house, you might see 3 or 4 of them. They all sleep. All they do is sleep, because most of them are older. But whenever I get on a Zoom hearing, inevitably at least 1 or 2 of the cats will come and just start interacting. And at first, when it started happening, I was so nervous because, I'm in front of a judge, even though we're on Zoom, it's still court. But to my relief, everybody loves the cats. Even the judges, they're like, who's that? Who's that? So it's really cool. Thanks again. Please hit the thumbs up. Hit the like. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. There's lots more to come. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.